I can do my job from my toilet. Majority of Gen Zers say they will soon quit jobs for greater flexibility and fulfillment. So let's get into it. If they haven't quit, it's likely they will soon. The term Great Resignation was coined in the spring of 2021 as a record number of Americans voluntarily left jobs, and the trend shows no sign of abating, especially with the younger generation. A recent study from Lever found that 65% of Gen Zers plan to leave their job by the end of the year, and 40% across the generations say they'll quit in the coming months. Ashley, a 25-year-old who declined to give her last name for professional reasons, is one Gen Zer who recently left a job. On Monday, she gave notice to leave her gig as a nurse at a major research institution in Boston after working there for nearly a year. When she learned that her friends working as traveling nurses were making 3 times her salary and getting to live all across the country, she decided it was time to give notice. They couldn't have done anything for me to stay, Ashley told the Post, noting that she felt burnt out after working in an intensive care unit during COVID. She started her job hunt 2 weeks ago and quickly found a new opportunity. She'll be starting as a traveling nurse in San Diego in January, and this will be her fourth job since graduating from college in 2018. While older generations might balk at the idea of switching jobs so often, it's become increasingly common for younger workers. The average worker in the US spends about 4 years and 7 months at a job, according to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but Gen Z only spends an average of 2 years and 3 months at a gig, Career Builder found. It's completely normal for career starters to be experimental because they're still trying to figure out what they want out of a job. Elizabeth Lintelman, Director of Career Services at American Public Education Incorporated, a provider of higher education to working adults, told the Post. Mariana, a 25-year-old who works as a social media coordinator, has been thinking of quitting her job ever since her company started requiring more in person time. I'm like, no, Mariana, who declined to give her last name for professional reasons, told the Post. I can do my job from my toilet. She's been at the same job for 2 years, which she sees as a good time to move on. After talking to recruiters, I understand how much I should be getting paid for my years of experience/talent, she said. If my company paid me more and allowed me more of a hybrid model, I would be happy. Employees from all generations have noted burnout, a lack of advancement opportunities, flexible hours, and location, and the absence of childcare as reasons for resigning in recent months. Gen Z aren't the only ones who want better, but they are the generation that is more likely to ask for it. And that's actually a really interesting point because you're never going to get anything that you never ask for, period. So if you want a raise, if you never ask for a raise, you're never going to get it, right? So, pretty interesting. So at the end of the day, everybody wants a lot of the same things that Gen Z is more apt to vocalize, Lintelman said. Gen Z has gotten a bad rap of late for workplace movements such as quitting and act your wage that have them only putting in the minimum effort required to keep a job. But according to the Lever report, they're not lazy, they just have different principles. Feeling that their job is doing something positive is critical for younger workers. The survey found that 42% would rather be at a company that gives them a sense of purpose than one that pays more, while only 40% of millennials and 32% of Gen Xers said the same. For those thinking about leaving a job, no matter what their age or generation, Lindemann advises weighing the decision carefully. If you're just leaving because you think the grass is greener on the other side without doing your due diligence and research, you're going to find yourself in the same position months from now, she said. So let's actually look at some of the comments on this. This attitude works in a tight job market, but these twerps have never experienced a recession but are about to. They'll all be crying about their right to have a full time job that only requires 20 hours of actual work. Enjoy the basement life for a few years. The economy is very precarious. A lot of jobs will be taken over. We're entering unknown territory. Good luck to all. To be a traveling nurse might be fun when young, but when a recession comes and one is not quite so young and the first to be let go, a different view may appear. This will likely all happen much sooner than these arrogant ones think. If you have no working memory of a recession, it is interesting. I like my non WFH job. I enjoy my human colleagues and people I work with. Good. Quitting a job into recession always works out. Generations of narcissists. Only self employment can bring a feeling of liberation, and even then, because the stress has increased because it's up to you to make it happen, self employment can turn into high stress, bad times that you would not have when working for someone else. In your 20s and 30s, if you don't financially save some money for hard times ahead because you keep quitting jobs for greener pastures, what happens is hard times hit in your 40s and 50s, and then it's much more stressful on you than in your 20s or 30s because you don't have the finances to take care of yourself. This almost always means you must accept a job you hate in your 40s because it's the only job you can get. Also, the philosophy of repeatedly quiet quitting, or just quitting, and moving on is the exact opposite of what it takes to have a spouse and children and a stable home life. If this is the way many people from this generation are going to be, we are going to see a lot of really unstable families in another 20 years. And I honestly love this comment by Dr. NR. Like, that was really well put. I really liked your comment, man. Or girl. Not a good idea given the economy and possibly civilization itself is about to implode, but hey, we all make choices. If a company wants to keep an employee, maybe they should bring back pensions. I'll never knock somebody leaving a job to get more cash. If they are worth it, pay them. Let's see. You may be able to do your job from the toilet, but is anyone going to pay you? Can work from the toilet. That'd be something to add to your resume. Amazing how many losers get on young people that don't want to see their promised pensions legally disappear before their eyes. Like a lot of you folks, the kids that succeed will work harder than you, accomplish more than you, and retire while you're still parking cars to make the rent. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Feel free to give your thoughts on this if you stumble upon this. The thing is, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with quitting, but you always need to basically have something in place before you quit. I've seen a lot of people just like quit their job with literally no game plan, which is beyond crazy to me, right? If you really want to basically transition into something better, then actually have something set up before you quit your job, right? There's nothing wrong with looking for another place to work that will pay you more for basically the same amount of work that you're doing. Like, there's nothing wrong with going to that place, but you need that thing lined up, right? Now, here's the thing. I really recommend people not quitting their job if One, they don't have any money in the bank, or two, they have nothing lined up, right? The ideal situation is that you got a pretty nice emergency fund, and also you're going to be transitioning into a job that you've already agreed to work at, right? That is the ideal situation. But if you have like 6 to 8 months of work, well, I mean, 6 to 8 months of like your monthly expenses saved up in an emergency fund, you could technically quit your job at any given second and then go transition to another job. But that is definitely not recommended to do at all. But you could financially do it without necessarily harming yourself. And if you want to learn how to get a debt and master your money, go down below.